listener production.
Hi, Natarsha Belling with you and welcome to the afternoon edition of The Briefing. Coming up in our deep dive, police have today announced they have set up a new task force as Australia's gangland war explodes. Just a day after a former NRL player was gunned down outside his Sydney home, two other houses that are allegedly linked to his son have been targeted, one firebombed and the other peppered with bullets by masked gunmen. Last week, a grandfather was kidnapped, a possible case of mistaken identity. He is still missing. This latest escalation has authorities concerned, with all bets off as rival gangs seek revenge at all costs. We'll have those details in just a moment. But first, let's check the afternoon headlines this Wednesday, the 18th of February. National Senator Matt Utai has slammed One Nation leader Pauline Hanson over her inflammatory remarks about Australian Muslims, calling her unfit to lead a political party. Ms Hanson made the comments on Sky News on Monday night while discussing attempts by Australian women and children stuck in Syria to return home.
You know, you say, oh, well, there's good Muslims out there. Well, I'm sorry. How can you tell me there are good Muslims? If jihad is ever called, and people must understand this, go and research, go and understand about this, and the ones that will suffer, as those Jews did on that, when they were murdered and slaughtered.
Pauline,
and that's what we've got to realise could happen.
Mr Canavan described the remarks as, quote, totally un-Australian. The One Nation leader has issued a partial apology but is standing firm on speaking out against what she sees as the threat of radical Islam. Queensland Premier David Crisafulli has also rejected Ms Hanson's comments, telling the National Press Club he does not engage in political extremes. Meantime, the Prime Minister is standing firm on the government's stance on the so-called ISIS brides refusing to budge on his position. The group tried to leave a camp in Syria earlier this week and begin the journey home to Australia, but were turned back. Anthony Albanese says the federal government will not step in to help.
We will be doing and are doing nothing to assist or to repatriate these people.
Hillary Clinton has broken her silence over the Jeffrey Epstein scandal in a sit-down interview with the BBC. The former US Secretary of State has accused the current US administration of a cover-up over its handling of the Epstein files, but did admit her husband Bill Clinton knew Jeffrey Epstein and had flown on his plane.
My husband has said he took some rides on the airplane for his charitable work. I don't recall ever meeting him. We have nothing to hide. We have called for the full release of these files repeatedly. We think sunlight is the best disinfectant. Get the files out. They are slow-walking it. They are redacting the names of men who are in it.
The White House insists that by releasing the files, they had done, quote, more for the victims than the Democrats ever have. A planned vote to hold the Clintons in contempt of Congress for initially refusing to appear have been abandoned after the pair agreed to testify. And new statistics show Australian wages are not keeping up with the rising cost of living. The Bureau of Stats finding the wage price index rose just 3.4% in the year to December 2025, which is lower than inflation over the same period. Now it's time to get into our deep dive on the escalating gang violence in Sydney's underworld. Joining us is 7 News reporter Liam Tapper to unpack what these latest developments mean and why authorities are concerned more innocent people will get caught up in the crossfire as rival cartels declare all-out war on our streets. Liam, thanks so much for joining us. Extraordinary couple of days in this gangland war that has exploded this week. It all centres around this former NRL star, Matt Utai. Just let's start at the beginning. Let's unpack what happened earlier this week with Matt Utai.
Yeah, pretty shocking developments in the Sydney underworld, Tash. We started to get some text messages early on Tuesday morning that there'd been a shooting in Greenacre. It was just before 6 o'clock. And then I got a message from a police officer who said that it was Matt Utai, of course, former Bulldogs player, won a premiership with him in 2004. He had been shot twice, once in the leg, once in the chest, which was a little bit bizarre because he himself didn't have any links to any criminal activity, police had said, but his son, Isaiah, he's said to have got some links with the underworld, particularly this coconut cartel. So this feud between the coconut cartel, who they used to be the muscle for the Alameddine crime family. Of course, they've run the underworld here in Sydney for almost half a decade or so now. And they used to be the muscle. So they used to do those jobs that the Alameddines didn't want to do, the grunt work, so to speak. But they've been feuding over the past 6 months or so. Now, the Coconut Cartel have said, let's take it over. We can be the muscle, but we can also be the brains and the brawn, if you like. So that is where this police believe this has stemmed from. Yesterday, it was an Alameddine hit at the Utai family. It just so happened to get Matt as he was walking out to work. Seen the CCTV vision from the house next door, and it's chilling. Matt actually walks down the driveway, goes to open his car. There's about 5 shots fired towards Matt. As I said, once in the leg, once in the chest. Matt actually goes to the car to try to apprehend them. And then that's when they drive off and he stumbles and falls down onto a trailer. And that's when emergency services are called. So he's right now, he's gone through surgery. We understand that he will survive, but it's quite shocking to see that.
Absolutely shocking. Now, Liam, we then find out overnight that it seems these attacks are continuing. We understand 2 separate residences, again linked to the Utai family, have been targeted. One was shot up in a number of bullets just fired into the house, and another house was firebombed, and this was all filmed. Take us through how that's playing out now.
So I'll touch on the filming part in a second because that's something we've been covering for a few months now. But in terms of what happened overnight, that house at St Clair, I understand that. Speaking with police, they say that that's Isaiah Utai's in-laws' house, and that vision, it's remarkable. You see about a dozen shots fired into it. Even the person who's filming, he actually says, no, aim up towards the windows. So actually trying to fire into the line where there may be someone who might be in the line of fire.
This is Isaiah Utai's family-in-law. You and the cartel.
That, but then also that car was torched, as you said as well. That is, I understand, that's Isaiah Utai's mother's house as well. So the Alameddines, they're coming for Isaiah Utai and his family. It's an extremely strong message that's being sent to them. Received a few text messages as well, understandably, I understand have been sent from the Alameddines to say that they are coming for Isaiah Utai and his extended family and the Coconut Cartel. In terms of the filming, this is one thing that we've been seeing playing out for a few months now, and it's happening at all levels of the underworld, particularly here in Sydney. It's a bit of a proof of what you've done, and it's a message to say, we've done this. This is the evidence to show you that we're not messing about, and this is what we will do. And kids are being paid up to $10,000 sometimes to film these videos, which $10,000 is a lot of money for anyone, let alone an 18-year-old or 19-year-old. So it's a real way of these kids, trying to show their authority, but it's, at the end of the day, it's criminal activity. And unfortunately, we're going to see innocent people who are going to get caught up in this, and this is the last thing that anyone wants to see.
Now, there are allegations, Liam, you mentioned earlier, that this does centre around Matt Utai's son and his alleged links to a crime family. Where is he at the moment, and what's being done to try and pursue him or find him?
So we understand that he's overseas right now, but New South Wales Police, they've set up a strike force with Strike Force Raptor. They're, of course, the most highly trained police that we have here in New South Wales when it comes to tackling organised crime. The strike force is called Strike Force Hanson. It was set up this afternoon, and it's really going to crack down both on the Coconut Cartel, as they've describe themselves, and this Alameddine crime family as well. But in terms of Isaiah Utai, we understand that he is overseas, so seeking refuge elsewhere. That's why, one of the reasons why he hasn't, in fact, been targeted, hasn't been hit himself over the past 48 hours or so, and that's why these messages are coming in thick and fast. You'd imagine that the Coconut Cartel, if these links that are alleged that he has to them, if they are true, that they would be protecting him somewhere, and that would be why he would be overseas, and he would be in some sort of safe haven, for lack of a better word. And I guess New South Wales Police, at the same time, they don't want another person murdered, in cold blood on the streets of Sydney. So they would be doing all that they can in some ways as well to try and alleviate that risk too. Because at the end of the day, New South Wales Police have a duty of care to the citizens of the state. So they will be trying to make sure that another life isn't lost. And you'd have to think that Mal Lanyon, the new police commissioner here in New South Wales, he was pretty strong in tackling gang violence. Countless more firebombings, countless more kidnappings, countless more houses shot up. So it's a huge job for Mal Lanyon. He'll want to be stamping his authority on this too. So he'll be hoping that this new Raptor task force can really quell the violence that we're seeing right now.
Also, an extraordinary crime that happened in Sydney over the past week or so, Liam, is this kidnapping of an elderly grandfather from his home, taken out from his bed in the middle of the night. And there are allegations it's actually a case of mistaken identity, and we still have no idea where he is or if he is okay.
Tash, this is just shocking and heartbreaking in so many ways, this story. Chris Bagsarian, of course, that 85-year-old grandfather who was asleep in his home on Friday morning on North Ryde about 5 a.m. The vision is quite chilling. You see two men arrive in an SUV. They get out. They pull him, drag him, this frail 85-year-old, out of his house into the back of an SUV. A third man was waiting who drove the car away. It was later found burnt out in Turramurra. For those who aren't familiar, it's a suburb in the northern suburbs of Sydney. He has been held captive for almost a week now, 5 days at least. Where he is, police are unsure. They're still confident that he is alive, but the reality of what he's going through, I've been sent a video. This was one of the videos that the captors sent to, I've been told that it was an Alameddine crime family associate. They were the actual target. An Alameddine associate actually lives on that same street as Chris Bagsarian. It was a family member of his that was meant to be the target. That is what I've been told, but they made the mistake and they got Chris Bagsarian. Got sent a video that was filmed of the 85-year-old, and it is heartbreaking. It's very, very hard to watch and hard to digest to think that they're doing that to someone so old, someone so frail. But this is one of the things that we're seeing right now play out in the underworld, not just here in Sydney, but right around the country. The rule book. It used to be a thing of you never targeted, it initially was, you never target women, you never target children or extended family. That has completely been thrown out the door. You can see that now with this 85-year-old grandfather, the wrong victim. You would have hoped that the people who took him would have had a conscience in some ways and said, well, we better get him back and potentially go for someone else. They haven't done that. I understand, because I've seen some text messages that have been sent from the captors to the intended target that they're still trying to negotiate, use Chris Bagsarian as collateral to negotiate for someone else. So this innocent person who, just try and put yourself in his family's shoes. They've got no criminal links. Chris Bagsarian, the 85-year-old, he's got no criminal links as well. They've been thrust into this world, which is so foreign to the vast majority of regular society, this criminal world. They're right now in the middle of it, trying to make sense and trying to think about how in the world are we going to get our grandfather back, hopefully alive, which police are working around the clock to try and make that happen. But at this stage, they've had no word on when he will be returned and in what condition he's going to be returned in as well. We know that he needs daily medication. Whether he's getting that, we're unsure of as well. So it's just absolutely heartbreaking.
Liam, you mentioned a great point earlier, the fact that there, if you like to say it, a rule book in the underworld and the gangland wars that are happening right across the country at the moment, especially in Melbourne and Sydney. It seems the rule book has been thrown out the window. There are no rules. Everyone is fair game. How concerning is that for authorities?
Oh, it's got to be terribly concerning, you'd have to think, Tash, because there used to be a set playbook where authorities knew that these criminals, they wouldn't go outside the flags, so to speak. But now, in the advent of phones, the advent of illegal tobacco, into the advent of more drugs that are on our streets here in Australia. We have such a high thirst for drugs, and we have a society that's willing to pay that as well, which means that the profits are so high that these gangs are going to any length now to try and get supremacy. Particularly here in Sydney, Melbourne's very similar. We've seen the tobacco wars that have been playing out down there. We only just recently, Hamad, he was apprehended overseas. So you can see that the authorities, they're really, really trying to crack down on this. But in terms of that rule book, they're recruiting young people as young as 16, because we do know with Isaiah Utai, his barbershop that he was linked with back halfway through last year, it was targeted. It was firebombed by a 16-year-old kid as well. So he would have been paid a few $1,000s as well. But in terms of who's being targeted, that now any member of the family, Matt Utai, as I said, there was no known criminal links that Matt himself has, and not accusing him of any wrongdoing at all. But he's now been caught up in this as well, which is, it's just so hard for police to try and crack down on these people, because they could be anywhere, anytime, and anyone who could be caught up in the crossfire.
Very concerning times. We appreciate your analysis and breaking it all down for us. Thanks so much, Liam.
Thanks for having me, Tash.
That was 7 News reporter Liam Tapper. And an important note, there is no suggestion Matt Utai is involved in any criminal activity or has any criminal links. That's it for this episode of the afternoon edition of The Briefing. We'll be back in your feed tomorrow morning with the deep dive with Jane Hume, who is the new Deputy Leader of the Liberal Party. We'd love you to subscribe or follow us on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. I'm Natarsha Belling. Thanks for your company.